Who are the Ad Watchers? We are attorneys at the National Advertising Division of BBB National Programs, a team with over 50 years of experience investigating and resolving disputes over the accuracy of national advertising campaigns.
We don't just take ads at face value. We put them to the test. Why? Because advertising law can be simple, but it's the execution that's hard. Welcome to Ad Watchers, NAD's podcast that gives a view into how our organization reviews claims and applies advertising law. If you missed any of our previous episodes, don't forget to check them out later. They are available wherever you are listening to this. So, Eric, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about a very fun subject today. In fact, my favorite subject, and that is puffery. No joke, no hyperbole. It really is my favorite subject. We've talked about it before on the Ad Watchers, and I have a feeling if we're in season 25 of the Ad Watchers, we'll probably be talking about it again because it is a perennial issue at NAD and in advertising law. It's a very interesting issue. It's an important issue. It's a threshold issue in many cases because it could be the difference between having to substantiate a claim or not. And it's a very nuanced issue. We'll always, reasonable minds can disagree on whether a particular bit of advertising is puffery or not. And those debates will continue. But
which is why this will be the best episode ever, right?
Absolutely the best, no doubt about it. So let's just start quickly. Do a little recap. Let's give a definition of puffery so everybody knows what we're talking about. Whether a specific claim falls within puffery's protective reach is largely dependent on what, if any, consumer expectations are created by the claim. Obvious hyperbole, exaggerated displays of a manufacturer's pride in its product, and other non-provable claims, the truth and accuracy of which cannot be determined, have been found to constitute puffery for which no reasonable consumers will expect substantiation. Conversely, where an objective representation is made regarding the performance or other tangible attributes of a product that is sufficiently specific and material enough to create expectations in consumers, then substantiation for the claim is required. As we say here on the Ad Watchers, puffery is one of those concepts where it's easy to get the basics, but it's the application that sometimes gets difficult. Okay, so that's a little bit more than saying I know it when I see it, but it is important that you have a background and get familiar with the cases where puffery is asserted as a defense, because it's important to keep up with new cases there, because you never know, you may have a situation where your advertising is very similar to something that was challenged at NAD. So we'll do a little recap of some of the recent cases we've had involving puffery. But first, Annie, do you have a favorite old case involving puffery?
There's so many cases to choose from, but I think the one that I really liked a lot was a much older case, a 2006 case concerning advertising for NyQuil and NyQuil cough. There were two commercials at issue in that case that were touting NyQuil in a monadic context. And we found that the tagline in one commercial was puffery, but was not, was not in another. So we didn't have any consumer perception evidence in this case. The first commercial was the roommate commercial. And so one roommate was suggesting that her friend should take NyQuil, and describes how great her sleep will be in this like funny context, right? So it's like, oh, you're going to sleep like a log, you're going to sleep like a cat, and so then the roommate's thinking, yeah, I'm going to sleep great. I'm not going to wake up my my roommate anymore. And so and then the commercial ends with the humorous tagline, and well-known tagline, right? I mean, this is, decades long tagline. NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching fever. And that's followed by the best sleep you ever got with a cold medicine. And so we said in that case that consumers, for that commercial, that consumers would reasonably interpret the best sleep claim to be an extension of the overall tone of the commercial, and that without more, it wasn't a superiority claim, right? This was puffery. But the tagline was a little different in another commercial. So in the second commercial is the Blizzard commercial, where this guy is like looking out his window and just, cringing at the thought of leaving, because he has to clear out, this mountain of snow. And then the commercial ends with NyQuil, best sleep you ever got with a cold medicine. And so even though, that commercial was also very funny, the well-known, portion, tag portion of the tagline was removed. And so you have the NyQuil followed, by, the best sleep claim. And so we said in that case, it was linked, the NyQuil was linked to a measurable attribute, superior quality of sleep. So it was not puffery. So again, very context specific. How about you, Eric? You must have a favorite puffery case.
We're actually going to be talking about a lot of my favorites today, but one old one I can think of was when we had the claim, the toughest tractor on earth. And there's a classic NAD case with a very similar claim about the toughest glue on earth. And in the tractor case, we found that the claim was puffery, unlike the glue case. And so we distinguished between tractors and glue. Glue does one thing, it binds things together, but tractors do many things, and they have the general quality of toughness. So who can really say what makes the tractor tough if it's not applied to, if it's not connected to a specific attribute? And so we said that in the tractor case, that was puffery. It's okay to be prideful of the toughness of your tractor, whatever that may be. Um, you mentioned best claims, so I think we can segue into some of the recent cases we've had at NAD. One case we've had, it's often, we're so familiar with seeing claims, very, very often you'll see the claims tied to the best. And some cases, those are puffery. The best coffee in town, the best cup of coffee you'll ever have. Claims like that. We see them so many times as consumers. And in many cases, they are clearly puffery. But what happens when a best claim is tied to some measurable benefits? We recently had a case involving Royal Oak supersize briquettes. Made a series of claims which spoke to the size of the briquette, sort of tying that to the grilling experience. And what one of the claims at issue was that they can provide, the best grilling experience. Now, in that case, NAD said that the best grilling experience claim appeared in a context where there was allusions to the qualities of the briquette, the size qualities. It's 50% bigger, for example. So in this case, best grilling experience, we said, was tied to specific and measurable performance attributes. So in this case, it was not puffery. What makes a grilling experience with the briquettes was not vague in this instance. It was tied to specific attributes. So what NAD said that this had appeared in a comparative context, and the message that was reasonably conveyed is that Royal Oak supersized briquettes produce the best grilling experience because they perform better. That is, they burn hotter and burn longer due to their larger size. And similarly, there was a claim that a bigger briquette is a better briquette. And then right there in the claim, it was tying it to the size of, it was tying what made it better to the size of it, when there were other aspects of the briquette that may impact quality. Uh, it's good to have a good briquette, but that was not the end of the story in determining what the best briquette was. Okay, another best case we had recently involved beef jerky, old trapper beef jerky. On the package of the beef jerky, it said clearly the best beef jerky. Little bit of a play because I think it appeared in a clear package, so you could see the beef jerky there before you bought it. It said clearly the best beef jerky, and then there were other claims which appeared in media that the best ingredients create the best beef jerky. So NAD said that clearly the best beef jerky in this context, even though it appeared on packaging next to other products, and which was an issue raised by the challenger. And NAD said that this was a statement of corporate pride. Also, the best ingredients create the best beef jerky. In a context where it depicted certain ingredients visually, this was also a statement of pride or taste in pointing to the kinds of ingredients that are in the beef jerky. However, where NAD said it did cross the line in this case was where the advertiser claimed that we use only the highest quality ingredients in every Old Trapper flavor. Um, that was different than just saying simply that the ingredients are the best. This would require evidence about the relative quality of the ingredients. So it is very context specific, as always.
Another case where we talked about sort of not literally the best, but it's a cousin, right? It was a challenge by Stokely Van Camp and against advertising by Body Armor, and it was the claim was the rehydration champ, and that was in connection with the Body Armor Flash IV sports drink. And so what we said here was that this was not puffery. That champ indicates superiority, and it's paired with a measurable attribute. And that measurable attribute, the rehydration, it's not simply the fact that the product has more electrolytes, but that it provides superior performance benefits, relating to rehydration. So, wanted to touch on another topic, which is symbols and emojis. Sometimes there's the notion maybe that a symbol or an emoji is just it doesn't have any real value, right? It doesn't convey a message, but that's not the case, right? Because again, we, as Eric mentioned, a determination of puffery is context specific, and then whenever we're looking at really takeaways, right, we always look at the context. So symbols and emojis are not just can't be disregarded. So in the Body Armor case, we had this is a separate Body Armor case. We looked at a video of Baker Mayfield. He was the Cleveland Browns quarterback and former Heisman Trophy winner. And he was doing this blinded taste test of different sports drinks. He starts off by drinking the Body Armor drinks, and then he drinks the Gatorade drink. And when he's doing that, there's a vomit emoji, the green icky emoji that shows up, and then he spits it out and he says, "Yo, that's not cool. That's awful." And he shakes his head. And NAD found that the claims in that video were not puffery. So the combination of the vomit emoji, his obvious disgust, and him spinning out the Gatorade, and then saying that that Gatorade is awful, reasonably conveys that Gatorade is undrinkable, right? And that's an unsupported message.
So we see emoji a lot in advertising now, and occasionally an advertiser will try to argue that putting the emoji in there, it's not meant to be taken seriously. It's just a bit of embellishment. It's exaggeration. It's just goofy. Don't take it seriously. This is what people use in communication these days. In one instance where that was attempted, we had a case involving ashwagandha gummies and all kinds of claims that were made about the benefits of this product. And some of the claims had to do with there was a claim that ashwagandha equals nature's aphrodisiac. And this appeared in a context along with some emoji, a fire emoji and a heart emoji. It was also in close proximity to claims about sexual health and sexual function. So NAD said here that this was not puffery. There were actually claims being made here about the product being an effective aphrodisiac, and just by virtue of having some emoji didn't make it so silly that no claim was being made.
Another issue that comes into play with puffery is humor. We've kind of touched on that a little earlier, and company pride, like companies boasting about their products. And NAD has a sense of humor. I think a lot of uh, uh, companies think that we don't, but it's not true. But you just have to be careful about how you use it, and it's not a defense. So one case that we looked at, and I'm going to talk about two telecom cases, was the Comcast Xfinity case. And in that case, the claim at issue was Xfinity. It's time for better internet. If only he had Xfinity. And it shows an actor who is visibly exasperated with his service, right? His arms are flailing, his eyes are rolling. He's just fed up with his Verizon 5G service. And so Comcast said, "Look, this is just puffery. We're just highlighting Xfinity's benefits. What's wrong with that, right?" But NAD disagreed. So we said that one message that's reasonably conveyed here is that Verizon's 5G service is ineffective and unreliable, right? And then it's amplified by the frustration of the actor. In the Mint Mobile case, Mint Mobile argued that its claims such as hashtag Verizon sucks and Verizon victim finally catching on to their shadiness were puffery. Because they were funny. These were funny posts and social media videos. And we found that in context, these hashtags convey broad messages about Verizon's service and business practices, and namely that they're dishonest. So it goes beyond just the permissible hyperbole. to being disparaging and misleading. And again, that's kind of when, right, you cross over from potential puffery into an objectively provable claim. In the Mint Mobile case, Mint Mobile argued that its claims such as hashtag Verizon sucks and a Verizon victim finally catching on to their shadiness were puffery because they appeared in humorous posts and social media videos. And we found that in context, the hashtags conveyed broad messages about Verizon service and business practices, and namely that the practices were dishonest. So we found that that went beyond permissible hyperbole to misleading and disparaging messages. This case was appealed to the NARB, and they affirmed our decision.
Sometimes you do see, as you mentioned, Annie, uh, puffery being asserted as a defense when you're talking about a competitor's product, or referring to a competitor's product. And one case that I think should serve as caution about doing that is a case we had last year involving Miller Lite beer. And there were a couple of videos showing athletes working out hot and getting hot and sweaty, um, feeling the heat, and refreshing themselves by taking a bottle of something that looked like a competing light beer, and instead of drinking it, just pouring it over their heads like you would water if you were hot. So, and then there was the tagline: "Light beer shouldn't taste like water; it should taste like beer." So that was challenged. The advertiser argued that this was just an opinion, and this one actually went to the NARB, and the NARB agreed with NAD and concluded that it was not puffery. It's a comparative claim requiring substantiation in the form of a well-conducted consumer taste test. That's what the claim was alluding to, the taste of a competitor's beer. So they did not have the room. They did not have room there to claim that it's just an opinion. There was a claim being made about the taste qualities of the competitors' beers. Um, it reminds me of another fun case we had a couple years ago involving Traeger grills, and there were these wood pellet burning grills, and they had this really funny commercial, which we do appreciate the good humor in the commercials. And in this ad, there's a claim like, well, when you cook with propane, it smells like gas. And they keep repeating this: tastes like gas. And the humor is that it sounds like you're saying something else that tastes like. Um, and so, but NAD said that there was an objective claim being made here about the taste of food that you grill with a propane fired grill. We're talking. Yes, we are. It seems appropriate that we're talking about grilling and beer when we're about to head into summer grilling season. So gets me excited for that. Um, another case where we addressed this argument that something is just an opinion. Um, and I think in contrast to the Miller Lite case, um, where there was a little more nuance to it, it was also about it also didn't directly uh, disparage a competitor. But this one did read as a statement of pride. This was advertising for steel outdoor power equipment. And a lot of the case had to do with made in the USA claims or made in America claims. And the challenger argued that they conveyed a message that the only things that mattered about these products were their country of origin, because the advertiser used the line, made in America, tells you everything you need to know. But NAD said, that really is just a statement of opinion and pride, because reasonable consumers are likely to understand that the origin of a product is not the sole attribute of importance in choosing a product, and will recognize that this claim is merely hyperbole. So you can express an opinion, especially if it's about pride in your own product, if it's not something that consumers are going to take away a message that it's something more than an opinion. So, Annie, before we leave today, what are some tips we can give our listeners?
So one tip is that puffery should not be your main line of defense. Unless there's a really clear-cut case, right? You have, like you mentioned earlier, Eric, right? Best coffee in the world and nothing else, right? That's clearly puffery. But, absent, a claim that's clearly puffery, it's best to fully brief the issues. And the reason for that is, first of all, there's a possibility that this case might be expedited. In which case, if you're just hanging your hat on puffery, you are going to be in trouble. And it's not puffery. And also, it helps keep the case on track by making sure that you include all of your arguments, in your first submission.
I would also say try to keep it general, or the more general a claim is, the more likely it is to be puffery. If it's in a context where it's surrounded by references to specific product attributes, those could inform the message that's taken away by that claim. So if it's general, keep it general, and away from other more specific claims if possible.
And lastly, tread carefully with humor. It's, we're not saying that you shouldn't be funny. We love funny commercials. But a humorous claim can easily become a denigrating one. And it can take you out of the puffery realm.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Ad Watchers. We hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks again for tuning into Ad Watchers. Be sure to check out our previous episodes at accountabilitystudio.org, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe to get notified about our next episode. Until then, leave us a review and let us know what you would like to hear from us this season.